The last line. Commander Elena Rodriguez stood in the heart of humanity's last fortress, watching holographic displays track the seemingly unstoppable alien armada descending through Earth's atmosphere. The base, carved deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, represented everything that remained of organized human resistance. Or at least, that's what the Emperor believed. The massive underground complex shuddered as another orbital bombardment struck the surface above. A junior officer stumbled, catching himself against a console while trying not to spill his precious cup of coffee, real coffee, not the synthetic stuff they'd been forced to subsist on during the initial invasion. Incoming transmission from His Most Radiant and Phenomenally Humble Excellency, Emperor of the known universe and Master of all realities, the AI announced, its voice carrying what Rodriguez was certain was programmed sarcasm. She'd always appreciated how the base's artificial intelligence had developed a personality that matched the crew's growing contempt for their would-be conqueror. The holographic display flickered to life above the command center's central table. Emperor Zix's massive head appeared, his bioluminescent patches pulsing with what Rodriguez assumed was either supreme confidence or indigestion. The creature's appearance never failed to amaze her. Someone had successfully crossbred a peacock with a jellyfish and given it an ego that could fill a solar system. "My dearest Earthlings," the Emperor's voice boomed through the speakers, tentacles waving in what his species probably considered an intimidating manner. To Rodriguez, it looked more like he was directing traffic with overcooked spaghetti. "Your continued resistance, while admirably stubborn, grows tiresome. Unlike your daily speeches, which are just a delight," she muttered, earning a few tired chuckles from her staff. Humor was about all they had left, that and enough experimental weaponry to make any self-respecting mad scientist blush. Lieutenant Sarah Chen rushed in, tablet in hand. "Commander, the outer defense grid just picked up another wave of drop ships. They're trying a new approach vector, coming in through what's left of Saskatchewan. They finally discovered the existence of Canada. I was wondering how long that would take." Rodriguez pulled up the tactical display, watching the red dots of enemy ships descend. "You know what's funny? They still haven't figured out why we let them take everything else so easily." The Emperor's image continued its pompous proclamation. "Your civilization will be elevated, your species will be enlightened, your planet will be." "Mute that garbage," Rodriguez ordered, standing up as her command staff gathered around the tactical display. The base shook again, dust raining from the ceiling, but Rodriguez was smiling now, the kind of smile that would have made the Emperor's tentacles curl had he seen it. Deep within the mountain complex, behind layers of security that would make Fort Knox look like a cardboard box, lay humanity's greatest secret. The Quantum Consciousness Engine, or QCE as the scientists called it, represented the culmination of decades of research into the nature of consciousness itself. While the aliens had focused on traditional warfare, ships, weapons, and brute force, humanity had been quietly exploring something far more fundamental. "Status report on Project Mirror?" Rodriguez asked, turning to Dr. James Wong, the lead scientist on the QCE project. The physicist looked up from his terminal, dark circles under his eyes testament to countless sleepless nights. "Final calibrations are complete, Commander. The quantum entanglement field is stable, and consciousness transfer protocols are green across the board. We're ready." Rodriguez nodded, allowing herself a moment to appreciate the audacity of their plan. The aliens had indeed conquered most of Earth, but they'd never understood why it had been so easy. Every retreat had been calculated, every loss carefully orchestrated to draw them into position. The Rocky Mountain base wasn't humanity's last stronghold, it was a trap. "Begin Phase 1, she ordered. "And someone get me a fresh cup of coffee. I have a feeling it's going to be a long night." In the depths of the facility, the QCE hummed to life, its crystalline core pulsing with an otherworldly blue light. The device represented humanity's greatest achievement, the ability to transfer and merge consciousness across quantum states. While the aliens had mastered faster-than-light travel and energy weapons, humans had quietly perfected something far more revolutionary, the ability to transfer consciousness itself. The plan was simple in concept but staggeringly complex in execution. For months, as the aliens pushed humanity back, special operators had been systematically allowing themselves to be captured. Each carried a fraction of the quantum entanglement matrix within their own consciousness, dormant and undetectable. Now, scattered throughout the Emperor's fleet and installations across the solar system, these sleeper agents waited for activation. Message from Echo Team, Lieutenant Chen announced. They've confirmed positions aboard the Emperor's flagship. All key systems are accessible. Rodriguez walked to the massive window overlooking the QCE chamber. The device's crystalline structure caught the light, creating rainbow patterns across the reinforced walls. You know what the best part is? She asked her staff, though her eyes remained fixed on the machine. They're so busy congratulating themselves on their superior technology that they haven't asked themselves one very important question: why would humanity put all its eggs in one very obvious basket? The answer, of course, was that they hadn't. The Rocky Mountain base was indeed humanity's last major military installation, but it was also a beacon, a focal point for the quantum network they'd spent years establishing. Each captured soldier, each seemingly defeated base, each conquered territory had only strengthened their position. Begin consciousness synchronization, Dr. Wong called out, his fingers flying across the control panel. Quantum field expanding. Matrix stability at 98% and holding. Rodriguez watched as the QCE's light intensified. Somewhere above them, the Emperor's ships continued their bombardment, believing they were finally crushing humanity's last resistance. They had no idea they were actually helping to power the very device that would lead to their downfall. Status of Operation Trojan? Rodriguez asked, turning to her tactical officer. All teams report ready, Commander. We have quantum-linked operatives in position on 97% of major enemy vessels and installations. The consciousness transfer network is primed and waiting for your command. Rodriguez took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. They would only get one shot at this. If their calculations were wrong, if the quantum field failed to maintain coherence across the vast distances involved, if any one of 1,000 variables didn't align perfectly, humanity's last great gambit would fail. Send the activation code, she ordered. Authorization Rodriguez Alpha 709. Execute Operation Trojan. The QCE's hum rose to a crescendo as the quantum field expanded, reaching out to touch the minds of every sleeper agent in the enemy fleet. In an instant, thousands of human consciousness fragments would activate, merging with their hosts' minds and seizing control of key systems throughout the alien armada. As the machine reached full power, Rodriguez allowed herself a grim smile. The aliens had conquered Earth's territory, but they were about to learn a harsh lesson about the true nature of humanity's capabilities. They hadn't been fighting a conventional war, they'd been playing chess in 4 dimensions. And checkmate was about to begin. Consciousness rising. The Emperor's flagship, the Celestial Dominion, hung in high Earth orbit like a massive crystalline spider. Its bioorganic hull pulsed with patterns of bioluminescence, a display that had struck terror into countless civilizations. But deep within its neural command center, Corporal Maya Santos watched and waited, her consciousness perfectly still within her alien host. She hadn't been captured during the fall of Buenos Aires by accident. Like thousands of other human operatives, she had allowed herself to be taken, carrying within her mind a fragment of the quantum consciousness matrix. For months, she had existed as a passenger in the mind of a low-ranking technician, watching, learning, and preparing for this moment. The first pulse from the QCE hit like a silent thunderclap. Maya felt her consciousness expand, merging with the alien mind that had unknowingly hosted her. The sensation was unlike anything human language could describe. Imagine suddenly having access to memories of a childhood spent beneath alien suns, of swimming through crystal seas on a world light-years from Earth. QCE activation successful, she sub-vocalized, knowing the quantum link would carry her words back to the Rocky Mountain base. Beginning Phase 2. Throughout the flagship, other human operatives were awakening, their consciousness fragments activating in perfect synchronization. The aliens had no defense against this form of warfare. How could they? They had never imagined that consciousness itself could be weaponized. Back in the Rocky Mountain base, Commander Rodriguez watched as green confirmation lights bloomed across the tactical display. Each light represented a successfully activated operative, their consciousness now merged with their alien hosts. 70% activation rate, Lieutenant Chen reported, her voice tight with tension. 80%, 90%, we're at 95% successful consciousness integration. Dr. Wong's fingers danced across his console, monitoring the quantum field stability. The network is holding. Consciousness synchronization is maintaining coherence across all vectors. Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. Begin Phase 2. Let's show them what it means to truly hack a system. Aboard the Celestial Dominion, Maya/Krex, she now thought of herself with both names, both identities merged into something new, began to access the ship's neural interface. The aliens' bioorganic technology was incredibly advanced, but it had one crucial weakness: it was designed to interface directly with consciousness. Now, with human and alien minds merged, that interface became a weapon. Security protocols bypassed, she reported. Accessing primary control systems. Similar reports began flooding in from across the alien fleet. On thousands of ships, in installations across the solar system, human operatives were awakening within their hosts, seizing control of crucial systems. The beauty of the plan lay in its subtlety: there were no alarms to sound, no security systems to alert. How do you detect an invasion that occurs within the mind itself? Emperor Zix was in the middle of another grandiose speech to his command staff when he noticed something was wrong. The neural feedback from his fleet felt different. There was a strange harmony to it, a pattern that shouldn't exist. Something is wrong, he announced, his bioluminescent patches flashing with concern. The fleet's neural network is experiencing technical difficulties. Rodriguez's voice cut through the command chamber, replacing his image on every display. You know, for a species that prides itself on superior technology, you really should have paid more attention to the basics of information security. The Emperor's tentacles writhed with rage. How dare you? How dare we? That's rich coming from someone who invaded our planet. Rodriguez leaned forward, her image dominating the display. But here's what you never understood: your radiance. We let you invade. Every retreat was planned. Every defeat was orchestrated. We needed your ships in position, your troops deployed exactly where we wanted them. Throughout the fleet, human-alien hybrid consciousnesses were taking control. Ships began breaking formation, weapon systems powered down, and communication channels fell under human control. The Emperor watched in horror as his mighty armada began to dance to human commands. But the aliens hadn't conquered half the galaxy by being easily defeated. As the initial shock wore off, countermeasures began to activate. Emergency protocols, designed for scenarios involving mental contamination, started to isolate affected ships and personnel. Neural purge protocols initiated, an automated system announced throughout the fleet. Beginning emergency consciousness segregation. Maya felt the attack hit her merged consciousness like a blast of Arctic wind. The alien mind she shared began to fragment, threatening to tear away from her control. But this too had been anticipated. Activating Phase 3, she transmitted through the quantum link. Emergency consciousness reinforcement required. In the Rocky Mountain base, Dr. Wong's team responded immediately. The QCE's power output doubled, then tripled, sending waves of quantum-entangled consciousness support throughout the network. They're trying to sever the neural connections, Dr. Wong reported, his hands flying over the controls. But they don't understand, we're not using their neural network anymore. Our quantum field exists independently of their technology. Rodriguez watched as the tactical display became a battlefield of lights, red for alien countermeasures, green for human control, yellow for contested systems. Status of Operation Mirror. Ready for activation, Commander, Chen reported. All quantum-linked operatives are in position. Operation Mirror was the true masterstroke of their plan. While the aliens focused on trying to purge human consciousness from their systems, they remained unaware of the quantum field's true purpose. It wasn't just a way to control their ships, it was a door, and that door swung both ways. Begin consciousness inversion, Rodriguez ordered. Let's show them what it feels like to have their minds open to new possibilities. Throughout the fleet, the merged human-alien consciousnesses began to broadcast back through the quantum network. Alien memories, knowledge, and experiences flowed into the QCE's crystalline matrix. Every secret, every technology, every piece of knowledge the aliens possessed began downloading into secure human databases. But more importantly, human consciousness began flowing the other way, touching not just the hybrid minds of their operatives, but reaching out to every connected alien mind in range. The Emperor's greatest weapon, his species' natural telepathic network, became a vulnerability. Maya felt the change as it happened. The alien consciousness she shared wasn't just merging with her anymore, it was being transformed. Human concepts, human emotions, human ways of thinking began to infiltrate the alien mind. And through the neural network that connected all ships and installations, those changes began to spread. "Sir," one of the Emperor's advisors called out, his tentacles trembling. "The crew, they're starting to think differently." The Emperor felt it himself, strange new thoughts, alien emotions, human concepts of individual freedom and self-determination seeping into his people's collective consciousness. It was an invasion more subtle and more profound than any military conquest. But as the human consciousness continued to spread through the alien fleet, something unexpected began to happen. The merger of minds was producing something new, something neither human nor alien had anticipated. And in orbit above Earth, thousands of hybrid minds began to reach a startling revelation. The true war was about to begin, not between humans and aliens, but between those who clung to the old way of thinking and those who had glimpsed something far more profound in the merger of minds. Evolution. Emperor Zix writhed in his crystalline throne, his tentacles twisting in patterns that reflected profound distress. The invasion of human consciousness through his fleet's neural network wasn't just a military crisis, it was an existential one. For the first time in his species' history, individual thoughts were emerging within their collective consciousness, creating discord in what had always been perfect harmony. "Purge all affected systems," he commanded, his bioluminescent patches flashing chaotic patterns. "Sever all neural connections. Return to baseline protocols." But it wasn't that simple. The human quantum consciousness network operated independently of their bioorganic systems, creating bridges between minds that couldn't be broken by conventional means. Worse, the merged consciousnesses were evolving at an alarming rate, developing capabilities that neither species had possessed independently. In the Neural Command Center of the Celestial Dominion, Maya/Krex experienced the first breakthrough. As the Emperor's purge protocols attacked her merged consciousness, something unprecedented occurred. Instead of fighting the attack or trying to maintain the merger, her hybrid mind adapted, evolving into a new state of awareness that transcended both human and alien limitations. Commander Rodriguez, she transmitted through the quantum link, her thoughts carrying a complexity that normal human language struggled to convey. "Something is happening. We're not just sharing consciousness anymore, we're evolving." Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Wong's instruments were registering unprecedented patterns in the quantum field. "The consciousness merger is creating new neural architectures," he reported, his voice filled with scientific wonder. "It's like watching accelerated evolution on a cognitive level." Rodriguez studied the readings, her tactical mind already analyzing the implications. "Are we losing control of the merged consciousnesses?" "Not losing control," Dr. Wong corrected, "but they're becoming something else. Something new." Throughout the fleet, other hybrid minds were undergoing similar transformations. The Emperor's attempts to purge the human consciousness were having an unexpected effect. Instead of separating the merged minds, the attack was forcing them to adapt, to evolve new defenses that drew upon both species' cognitive strengths. The Emperor felt the change rippling through his fleet's neural network. Where there had been ordered harmony, new patterns were emerging, complex, beautiful, and terrifying in their implications. His people had always experienced consciousness as a singular ocean of thought. Now that ocean was spawning countless unique eddies and currents, each carrying different perspectives and possibilities. "My lord," his chief scientist reported, tentacles trembling, "the hybrid minds are accessing capabilities we never knew existed. They're not just controlling our systems, they're rewriting the fundamental architecture of our neural networks." In the Rocky Mountain base, the implications of this development were becoming clear. Lieutenant Chen's tactical display showed something unprecedented. Ships under hybrid control were beginning to transform, their bioorganic hulls reconfiguring into new patterns that reflected their crew's evolved consciousness. "They're not just taking control," Rodriguez realized. "They're redesigning the technology itself." Dr. Wong nodded, his eyes fixed on the quantum field readings. "The merged consciousnesses are applying human creativity and individual thinking to the aliens' collective intelligence and biological technology. The possibilities are dangerous," Rodriguez finished. "If we lose control of this evolution, we could end up with something more dangerous than our original enemy." But control was becoming an increasingly abstract concept. Throughout the fleet, hybrid minds were reaching out to each other, forming new networks that operated on principles neither human nor alien could fully comprehend. The quantum consciousness field was no longer just a weapon, it had become an incubator for a new form of intelligence. Emperor Zix felt his own consciousness being pulled toward the evolution, drawn by the incredible possibilities glimpsed through the hybrid minds. His species had always valued perfection and unity, but what if true perfection lay in diversity? What if the highest form of unity came from the harmony of distinct individuals rather than the suppression of individuality? "My lord," his advisor's voice carried notes of both fear and wonder, "the hybrid minds are offering to share their evolution with us. They say we can all become something greater." The Emperor's tentacles moved in patterns that had no precedent in his species' language. The situation had moved beyond simple military victory or defeat. His invasion of Earth had led to something far more profound, the potential evolution of both species into something entirely new. In the Neural Command Center, Maya/Krex felt her consciousness expand further, touching minds across the fleet. The merger of human and alien thought processes had unlocked cognitive abilities that neither species had imagined possible. They could perceive quantum states directly, manipulate the bioorganic technology at its most fundamental level, and conceive of solutions to problems that had baffled both civilizations for millennia. "Commander," she transmitted, her thoughts carrying layers of meaning that transcended normal communication, "we need to make a choice. We can try to maintain control, to use this evolution as a weapon, or we can embrace it, guide it towards something that could benefit both our species." Rodriguez stood in the command center, watching as the tactical display showed more and more ships transforming, their crews evolving into hybrid consciousness states. The original plan, to use the consciousness merger to defeat the alien invasion, now seemed almost quaint compared to the possibilities and dangers that lay before them. But the evolution wasn't proceeding without resistance. Throughout the fleet, some alien minds rejected the change, fighting against the invasion of human consciousness with everything they had. The Emperor's loyalists began implementing desperate measures, attempting to destroy ships that had fully embraced the evolution. "Multiple ships dropping out of formation," Chen reported. "Loyalist forces are targeting evolved vessels. They're trying to prevent the consciousness evolution from spreading further." The space above Earth became a battlefield unlike any in human history. Ships under hybrid control moved with impossible grace, their evolved crews manipulating the bioorganic technology in ways that turned the vessels into extensions of their merged consciousness. Loyalist forces responded with desperate fury, willing to destroy their own fleet rather than allow the evolution to continue. In the midst of this chaos, the Emperor made a decision that would change the course of both civilizations forever. His consciousness, touched by the possibility of evolution, began to change. The being who had sought to subjugate humanity found himself embracing aspects of human consciousness that he had once despised: creativity, individuality, the beautiful chaos of independent thought. But as the battle raged and consciousnesses evolved, a new threat emerged, one that neither humans nor aliens had anticipated. The quantum consciousness field, designed as a weapon of war, was beginning to affect reality itself. The evolved hybrid minds were gaining abilities that threatened to destabilize the very fabric of spacetime. Dr. Wong's instruments detected at first fluctuations in the quantum field that suggested the merged consciousnesses were no longer bound by normal physical limitations. "Commander," he called out, his voice urgent, "we need to make a decision. The evolution is approaching a critical point. If we don't act soon, we may lose the ability to affect its course at all." Rodriguez looked at the tactical display, watching as reality itself seemed to bend around the evolved ships. The ultimate Bluff had succeeded beyond their wildest expectations, but it had also unleashed forces they barely understood. The question was no longer about winning or losing the war, it was about ensuring the survival of both species in the face of an evolution that threatened to transform them into something beyond human or alien comprehension. The next few hours would determine not just the fate of Earth, but the very nature of consciousness itself. Transcendence. Reality rippled around the celestial dominion as the evolved hybrid minds pushed the boundaries of what consciousness could achieve. In the ship's neural command center, Maya/Krex watched as the very structure of spacetime bent and flexed in response to their collective thoughts. What had begun as a military operation had become something far more profound, an experiment in consciousness that threatened to redefine the nature of existence itself. "We're detecting quantum anomalies throughout the fleet," Dr. Wong reported from the Rocky Mountain base, his voice carrying a mix of scientific fascination and deep concern. "The evolved consciousnesses are affecting fundamental forces we barely understand. It's as if they're rewriting the laws of physics through pure thought." Commander Rodriguez stood before the quantum field display, watching as patches of spacetime began to exhibit impossible properties. Ships under hybrid control weren't just moving through space anymore, they were manipulating the fabric of reality itself, creating corridors and possibilities that defied conventional physics. "Show me the projection," she ordered. "Where does this evolution lead?" Dr. Wong's hands moved across his console, bringing up a complex mathematical model. "Based on current trajectories, the hybrid minds will reach a critical mass of consciousness evolution within 6 hours. At that point..." He hesitated. "At that point, they may transcend our current understanding of physical reality entirely." The implications were staggering. What had started as humanity's clever plan to defeat an alien invasion now threatened to transform both species into something beyond the comprehension of their current forms. The question was no longer about victory or defeat, it was about the very nature of existence and consciousness itself. In orbit, the battle between evolved ships and loyalist forces had taken on aspects that resembled a war between gods. Vessels under hybrid control moved with impossible grace, their bioorganic hulls morphing and adapting in real time as their evolved crews manipulated reality at the quantum level. The loyalist forces responded with increasingly desperate measures, willing to tear apart the fabric of spacetime itself to prevent what they saw as an abomination. Emperor Zix, his own consciousness now partially evolved, watched from his throne room as reality fractured around his fleet. The perfect harmony he had once valued above all else seemed primitive compared to the symphonic complexity of evolved consciousness. Yet he could also see the danger, the very real possibility that this evolution could lead to the extinction of both species as they currently existed. "My lord," his chief scientist transmitted, thoughts carrying layers of meaning that their old language could never have conveyed, "we're detecting consciousness resonance patterns that suggest the formation of a new type of reality. The evolved minds aren't just changing themselves, they're creating a new framework for existence itself." Deep within the Rocky Mountain base, the quantum consciousness engine began to pulse with energies that exceeded its design parameters. The crystalline core, originally created to facilitate the merger of human and alien minds, now served as a focal point for forces that threatened to reshape reality itself. The QCE is acting as a catalyst, Dr. Wong explained, his instruments recording phenomena that defied explanation. It's not just linking consciousness anymore, it's becoming a nexus for the evolution of reality itself. Lieutenant Chen's tactical display had become almost meaningless as conventional physics broke down around the evolved ships. "Commander, we're losing the ability to track what's happening up there. Traditional sensors can't interpret what they're seeing anymore." Rodriguez felt the weight of history on her shoulders. Their plan to save Earth had succeeded beyond their wildest expectations, but the cost might be the transformation of both humanity and their alien adversaries into something unrecognizable. "We need options," she announced. "What can we do to control this evolution?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Maya/Krex, her hybrid consciousness now evolved far beyond her original state, reached out through the quantum network with a revelation that stunned both humans and aliens alike. The evolution isn't random, her thoughts resonated through the quantum field. "It's following a pattern that existed in both our species all along. We're not becoming something alien to ourselves, we're becoming what we were always meant to be." Through the merged consciousness network, she shared a vision that transcended normal human or alien perception. Both species, it seemed, had been evolutionary branches from an ancient root, a primordial consciousness that had split eons ago, taking different paths through physical existence. The current evolution wasn't creating something new, it was reuniting something that had been separated long ago. In the Emperor's throne room, this revelation hit with the force of a supernova. His species' drive for perfect harmony, humanity's incredible adaptability and creativity, these weren't opposing forces but complementary aspects of a greater whole that had been sundered in the ancient past. All this time, he transmitted to his fleet, his thoughts carrying wonder rather than his usual imperial authority. "We thought we were advancing toward perfection. But we were really just trying to find our way back to what we once were." The loyalist forces, faced with this revelation, began to waver. The evolution they had been fighting wasn't an aberration or a threat, it was the fulfillment of both species' destiny. One by one, ships that had been resisting the change began to accept it, their crews allowing their consciousness to merge and evolve. But the process wasn't without its dangers. As more minds evolved and reality continued to bend around them, the very structure of spacetime began to show signs of strain. The quantum field that had started as a simple consciousness-linking network was now holding together patches of reality that operated under different physical laws. "We're approaching a critical threshold," Dr. Wong warned, his instruments showing readings that defied analysis. "If we don't find a way to stabilize the evolution soon, we could trigger a cascade effect that would rewrite reality across the entire solar system." Rodriguez looked at the tactical display, now showing abstract patterns of consciousness and energy rather than traditional military formations. Their ultimate bluff had worked, they had defeated the alien invasion. But in doing so, they had set in motion events that could lead to the transformation of both species into something beyond their current comprehension. The question now wasn't whether to stop the evolution, that option had passed hours ago. The question was how to guide it, how to ensure that whatever emerged from this transformation retained the best aspects of both species rather than dissolving into chaos. As reality continued to bend and transform around the evolved fleet, the next few hours would determine not just the fate of two species, but the very nature of consciousness and existence in their corner of the universe. Unity. The space above Earth had become a kaleidoscope of transformed reality, regions where the normal laws of physics bent and flowed around evolved ships like water around stones. In the Rocky Mountain Base's command center, Commander Rodriguez watched as the tactical display struggled to represent phenomena that defied conventional understanding. "Quantum field saturation reaching critical levels," Dr. Wong reported, his voice steady despite the extraordinary readings on his instruments. "The consciousness evolution is accelerating exponentially. We have maybe an hour before it spreads beyond our ability to influence it. The quantum consciousness engine's crystalline core pulsed with energies that made the very air shimmer, its original purpose now dwarfed by the forces it was channeling. Throughout the fleet, evolved hybrid minds were approaching a level of consciousness that threatened to transcend physical reality entirely. Maya/Krex reached out through the quantum network, her evolved consciousness touching minds across the fleet. "Commander, we've discovered something. The strain on spacetime isn't just a side effect of our evolution, it's a choice we need to make. We can either try to maintain our connection to physical reality, or we can let go completely and transcend to a purely conscious state." The implications of this choice were staggering. The evolved hybrid minds could potentially shed their physical forms entirely, becoming beings of pure consciousness. But such a transformation would mean the effective end of both human and alien species as they currently existed. Emperor Zix, his consciousness now evolved enough to grasp the full magnitude of the situation, transmitted his thoughts through the quantum network. "All my life, I sought perfection through unity. Now I understand that true perfection isn't about enforcing sameness, it's about finding harmony in diversity." Rodriguez looked at the QCE, the machine that had started it all. What had begun as humanity's clever plan to defeat an alien invasion had become a crucible for the evolution of consciousness itself. But evolution didn't have to mean extinction. "There has to be a middle path," she said, both to her staff and through the quantum network to the evolved minds above. "A way to evolve without losing our connection to physical reality entirely." Dr. Wong's eyes suddenly widened as his instruments detected a new pattern in the quantum field. "Commander, look at this. The hybrid minds, they're not just evolving individually anymore. They're forming a new kind of network, something that preserves individual consciousness while allowing for collective transcendence." Through the quantum network, Maya/Krex shared what they had discovered. The evolved consciousness didn't have to choose between physical existence and transcendence, they could exist in both states simultaneously, creating a bridge between the material and consciousness realms. "It's like quantum superposition," Dr. Wong explained, excitement breaking through his scientific detachment. "Just as a particle can exist in multiple states simultaneously, consciousness can exist at multiple levels of evolution. We don't have to give up our physical forms to achieve higher consciousness." The revelation spread through the fleet like a wave of light. Ships that had been suspended between physical and transcendent states began to stabilize, their hybrid crews learning to exist in both realms simultaneously. The strain on spacetime began to ease as the evolved minds found a way to bridge the gap between material and conscious existence. Emperor Zix, watching from his throne room as reality rewove itself into new patterns, made a decision that would reshape both civilizations. "We came to Earth seeking to elevate your species through conquest," he transmitted, his thoughts carrying a humility that would have been impossible for his old self. "Instead, you have shown us a path to true elevation, one that requires neither conquest nor submission, but mutual evolution." In the Rocky Mountain base, Rodriguez watched as the tactical display transformed, showing not military formations but a new kind of order emerging in orbit. The evolved ships were arranging themselves in patterns that strengthened the bridge between physical and conscious realms, creating stable points where both forms of existence could coexist. The question was never about winning or losing, she realized, speaking both to her staff and through the quantum network. It was about finding a way to transcend the very concept of conflict itself. Through the merged consciousness network, humans and aliens began to share not just thoughts but possibilities. The aliens' mastery of bioorganic technology combined with human creativity and individuality, creating solutions to problems that had plagued both civilizations for millennia. Ships transformed into hybrid structures that could navigate both physical space and consciousness realms, becoming bridges between different states of existence. The quantum consciousness engine, its original purpose now transformed, became the anchor point for this new state of being. Its crystalline core pulsed with energies that helped maintain the balance between physical and transcendent existence, preventing either from overwhelming the other. "We're detecting consciousness harmonics throughout the solar system," Dr. Wong reported, his instruments showing patterns of unprecedented stability. "The hybrid network is self-sustaining. We've achieved a stable state of evolved consciousness that doesn't threaten physical reality." Maya/Krex, her consciousness now existing simultaneously in physical and transcendent states, shared a vision of the future through the quantum network. Both species would continue to evolve, but not toward some final perfect state. Instead, they would evolve in endless variety, each individual consciousness free to explore different levels of existence while remaining connected to the whole. In the Emperor's throne room, the being who had once sought to conquer Earth watched as his fleet transformed from an armada of war into a bridge between states of existence. "Perhaps this is what we were seeking all along," he transmitted. "Not the power to enforce unity, but the wisdom to find unity in infinite diversity." The ultimate bluff had succeeded beyond anyone's wildest expectations. What had begun as humanity's desperate plan to defeat an alien invasion had become the catalyst for both species' evolution into something greater. But unlike the transcendence many had feared, this evolution didn't require the abandonment of physical existence. Instead, it opened new doors, new possibilities, new ways of being that encompassed both the material and the conscious realms. Commander Rodriguez stood in the heart of the Rocky Mountain base, watching as the tactical display showed the new reality stabilizing around Earth. Humanity hadn't just survived, they had helped chart a course for both species' future evolution. The war was over, but the real adventure was just beginning. "Send word to all Earth facilities," she ordered, a smile touching her lips. "Operation Ultimate Bluff is complete. But Operation Evolution is just getting started." Above the Earth, transformed ships moved in intricate patterns, their hybrid crews exploring the boundaries between physical and conscious existence. The cosmos stretched before them, filled with possibilities that neither humans nor aliens had imagined before their consciousness merger. The ultimate bluff had become the ultimate truth, that the path to advancement lay not in conquest or resistance, but in the willingness to evolve together. As the quantum network hummed with the thoughts and possibilities of countless evolved minds, both human and alien, the future opened up like an infinite flower, each petal a new path to explore, each path leading to new understandings of what consciousness, existence, and unity truly meant. The war was over. The evolution had begun.